Right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As Ann said, my name is Linda, and I've been doing college counseling for a long time. I was a college counselor in Montgomery County Public Schools for 20 years. Before that, I was a college reader, application reader for Clemson. So I have quite a bit of experience, and I've run the summer camp for with Everest for probably the last 5 years, I think. And before that at Wooten for almost 14. So I love doing the camp. It's my fun. I enjoy being with the kids. I enjoy helping anybody because it's my passion, and I love to help kids grow and find the college match for them. Okay, so let's get going. What do your kids need to do this summer? And yes, a lot of kids need that break and that downtime. Yes, absolutely. However, not a good time to sit around and do absolutely nothing. So a good things for some options are you could do some volunteering, things that they really love. You could do internships. And hold on one second, let me see if we are going to the next slide here. We will do so. You can do some internships. Paid jobs are always good, shows responsibility. If they're interested in doing research, there's NIS, there's NIST, there's NIH. They do a lot of them. There's many of them online. If your child needs to retake a class that they might not have done so well in, it's the best time to do it is over summer school. So if your child's pulling out a D in a class, I would strongly suggest that they take that class again. Any type of, if they can be a coach or any type of, again, working with students like a camp aide type thing. But this is the time for your child to find what they love. So I know it's hard for kids to say, oh, I don't know what I like. Well, then give them 2 or 3 different options and find something that they do like. Because sitting around doing nothing, first, doesn't help the resume. Second of all, it's not healthy. And third of all, it doesn't keep them focused on the future. So that's where I am about the summer. Okay, so the class of 2025, excuse me, as I have a little bit of a cold here. And I missed a slide there. Yes, summer areas focus. Okay, so class of 2025, those are our sophomores. So again, Anne recommended to have a diagnostic SAT or ACT while school is fresh, and make a plan to take the test in the fall. Some sophomores may not be able to do that right away. However, it is a good idea. They will take the PSAT in the fall of their sophomore year and, of course, their senior year. So the sophomores, so confusing. The class of 2025 will take the PSAT, which determines if they will be a National Merit Scholar. So it's a good idea to take that test and to be prepared for it. And the way to be prepared for it is to take a diagnostic test beforehand and start studying for the test. Class of 2025, again, please make sure you review their courses. What classes are they taking next year? Do the classes that they're taking next year match their academic ability? I found sometimes that counselors go, oh, it's okay to take B plus when you've only had pre-calculus. And maybe maybe your child is only getting a B in pre-calculus. Well, probably not a really great idea to go from pre-calculus with a B to a BC calculus at AP class. So you've got to look at what classes your child has chosen for the following year, because you want to make sure it meets their criteria to be successful in that class. That's, I find sometimes that the kids feel they can do so many APs, and it's not a matter of how many AP classes your child does, it's a matter of how well they do in them. So if they're in an AP class and they're getting a C, it's probably not a really great idea to push them even harder the following year to do even more APs. APs take a lot of work. So again, make sure that their class for the coming up year is good. Also check that transcript to make sure that the grades are correct from 7th, 8th, or if your child took classes in 6th grade that are on their high school transcript, make sure they're correct. Um, and okay, I think that's it for class of 2025. Class of 2025 also, be active in your communities. If your child's not in a club, time to get into a club. If they're very active in sports and they don't have time for a club, that's fine. However, that sport must be taking up their entire school year. So I find kids go, well, all I do is soccer. Well, then join something at school as well, or look for something outside of school. And again, a job is great, but something that shows their growth, and something that shows their interest, right? So colleges, let me just kind of back up a minute. Colleges build a community in their class. When they are accepting students into their class, they build a community. And they build a community based on what your child is or doing. So if your child isn't doing anything in their community, it's hard for a college to look and say, well, are they going to come to my community and not do anything? Or how are they going to get involved? So getting involved in something is always important. So find their passion and have them do it. Sophomores should also start getting a little organized. Do they need to go and fill out an application now? No. Do they need to write essays now? No. But they should start thinking about, maybe where they might think they want to be, or what kind of job they may like, or do they have a passion that they want to pursue? So personality tests, there are so many really great ones that are out on the web that are free. And I suggest kids to do them. I have to tell you a little story. When I was in high school, I did a personality test, and it came back and said that I should go into communication. And of course, this was millions of years ago. And my father said, oh no, you'll never get a job in communication. So you can't go to college for that. Well, lo and behold, look what I'm doing, communication. So there you go. Even after that many years ago, doing a personality test is great. So as long as your child fills out those questions correctly, most of the time the personality test can really help. Talk to people, have your child talk to people, especially if they're interested in a certain career that is new, like you or your husband don't do, or husband or wife or relatives don't do, then find somebody for your to. That always helps as well. If you're in an area and you're going on vacation, go by and see a college. May not even be a college that you think your child is interested in, but at least it gets them in the mode of looking at a college campus and what they start looking like. Are they in the city? Are they in the middle of nowhere? That type of thing. So keep that conversation open. I wouldn't drown them in it when they're just starting their junior year, because their junior year is a lot. Their junior year is probably one of the most important years in high school. So I don't like to overload them, but trying to do a little bit of homework in advance always does help. Okay. Class of 2025, I think we just did that. Okay. Again, your juniors that are coming in, have them start a resume, have them start writing down all the things that they've done, because maybe they forget about these things. So start now, keep a list, and build upon that list. Okay, class of 2024. So here we go, guys. You guys are, your parents, your children are going to be senior next year. Definitely this summer is a big preparation time. Make sure that their tests are done. I always like kids to have all their testing done before applications start. And the reason is because if they are doing applications, writing essays, doing interviews, visiting schools, and now all of a sudden in September, October, they're trying to do testing, it's an enormous amount of pressure. So I like to tell kids, get it done now. If you need to study over the summer, great, but don't wait, get it done. So that's important. Again, I mentioned it before, if they had a poor grade and they're able to take that class over, to have it taken over, and talk to their counselor, make sure that they can take it over and that it is going to count as that poor grade is going to be wiped clean from their transcript and the new grade will be put in. So in order to do that, you need to talk to your school's counselor. Every school's different, if it's a private school or a public school, and where it's located. So again, talk to the counselor if you've got questions about it. I'm happy to handle or answer something for you. But again, you want to get any kind of a D off that transcript any way you can. Okay, a check for errors. And again, make sure the classes that they've signed up for, they're able to do them. Don't overload them, because remember, their fall is going to be extremely busy. Their summer, you should continue with their extracurriculars, whatever they, so let me also say that consistency is important. So when a child is involved in a club and has done it for 2 or 3 years, they should continue. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever the club may be, something political or whatever their focus is. And again, a lot of kids do sports. Some of them are coaching. Some of them are doing summer camps and helping other children. That's great. They should be doing it consistently, because that's what colleges look for. They look for somebody that's committed to something and continues it. So it's really important to emphasize that when you talk to your child, to have them continue to do something that, that they've been doing for years. Leadership opportunities, they are out there. Sometimes they fall in a child's lap and they don't even know it. So tell them to, they don't want to be realizing that everybody's got to be a leader. That's not the most important thing. But if they find an opportunity within a club or within a way to be a leader, like for example, if they could be a chairman of a committee, that's also a leadership. So whatever, again, children, I find that love something, they will get involved with it and they will be successful with it. So that's what they want to continue. Okay, if you've got a child that's an athlete, they need to register with the NCAA, and they need to do that like right away. So they'll have to send their test scores, they have to send their transcript, but they need to get that done, especially if they want to be recruited for next fall. Okay, let's keep going here. College research. All right, so juniors, you're getting ready to walk into your senior year, and your list might have been 20 schools. Okay, well, 20 schools is a lot of schools to apply to. I used to, in the years previous COVID, would tell kids to apply to 10 to 12 schools. Now, sometimes I have a little bit more. So sometimes 12 to 15. However, you need to narrow that list down. It's a lot of work to apply to 20 schools. So narrow the list as much as you can. And how do you narrow it? You narrow it by location, size, what they offer. Is it a good fit? Is it a community that you belong into? Are the kids similar to what your child is? Those are all the things you want to look at. I have a lot of kids that tell me, oh, I want warm weather. Okay, wonderful. I'm glad you want warm weather. You need to look at also what schools are in warm weather, and do they fit your values? Do they fit who you are as a person? Are you going to get there and you're going to be totally in shock because they don't live a life that you do in Montgomery County? So these are things to look at. And again, it's very important to look at that. At the end of the day, a college is a match and not a prize. So that's why I tell the kids it's very important to find that match. Look, when you're looking at that college list, look at the clubs that the school has. I recently helped a young man this past year, and he absolutely loves cars. And that's, in fact, that's what he wants his career to be. But obviously you kind of have to go to college, and you can't just love cars and get a job right away. So, but we found a NASCAR club at one of the schools that he applied to, and he was so excited. So there's a great match. So look at those clubs, a rock climbing club, a art club, whatever it is. That's another way to really narrow down that list. And again, location, size, finances. I can't even begin to tell you about finances, because that's a big, important, huge part of this. If you're looking for scholarships, what type of scholarships do the schools offer? Can you get a full ride? There are some out there. They're not as easy to obtain, but they are out there. Visit, make sure you go on some visits. It's hard to know what a school is like without setting foot on that campus. So knowing where it's located, again, the vibe of the school, and you hear that word vibe, but I'm telling you, it is so true. I can speak from personal experience that I took my daughter on trips and she wouldn't even get out of the car because the vibe wasn't there. So go on trips, go see, go online, do a virtual tour if you can't get there. But always, when you're looking at a list of 10 to 12, it's a good idea to try to go to that school before you apply. Demonstrated interest is always important as well. And obviously, the last thing on that list, be active and participatory. Good, Lynn, I can't even talk tonight. Okay, so application prep. Let's talk about that for a minute. So your junior is being told by your school, at least I hope so by now, that they need to have 2 teacher recommendations. When your child goes and asks a teacher for a recommendation, here's a couple of things your child needs to do. They need to ask in person. Okay, don't just send them an email. They need to actually go up to the teacher and say, would you be willing to write my recommendation? They need to ask teachers that they know are, organized, and that they feel would give them a good letter of who they are, who they speak to. And the child will know who they get along with and what classes they do. But it's really a good idea to have 2 recommendation letters, 2 teachers that they've asked. You really don't need any more than that. And again, in person. And the other thing that I'm finding is that, some of these teachers, and I hate to say it, but might be changing schools. So, and I know it's very difficult for your child to say, are you going to be here next year? But when they write a recommendation letter, just say something about, will you be able to submit it next year? Because then they'll kind of go, well, I don't know. And then they'll be able to get that hint that maybe that teacher's looking for another job. And I hate to say it that way, but recently I've had so many kids run up against a problem with teachers that they wanted to ask, but then they found out that they were leaving the school. So if that happens to your child and you find out in the summer that this teacher has left the school for another one, then it's going to be difficult to get that letter of recommendation from them. And so what you want to do is have a backup. So you want to make sure that your child has another backup that they're able to ask. But again, they can just kind of say, oh, I hope you're going to be here next year to write my letter. Okay. Some recommendation teachers want a resume. So again, it's a nice idea to write a resume and have it ready. Make sure your child sits down and knows all those activities from, 9th through 12th grade. That's what colleges are looking for. If they've been involved in something since, if they've played baseball since they were in 1st grade, then yes, that should be included. But if they won a prize in 7th grade that has nothing to do with what they've done in high school, then no, that would not be on a resume. So only things between 9th and 12th grade. Any type of accomplishments they've won, any awards they've received, those are all things that would go on there. The common application, it is open now. Your child can go in and fill it out with their name and their address and the parent information. However, the majority of that information for the Common App your child cannot fill out until August 1st. So this common application asks for the classes that they're going to take in the fall. They ask for their GPA, which your child won't have until July. They're going to ask for how many kids are in the class. You're not going to know until July or August. So there's a lot of things on the common application that a child cannot fill out now. I find that it's better to do all the activities. When you sit down and do the application, it's just easier to do it all at once. So during my class, and when I sit and work with somebody, we go through it, because there's so many little things that kids don't know that it's important. And it's important to go over it with somebody or know what's important, what's not important. And it opens August 1st. And that's when all of the questions, so many colleges, and more so every year, will have their own individual essays, and they are not available until August 1st. So that's when it opens. That's when your child should start thinking about filling that out in completion. And I try to tell the kids, get it done before school starts. At least get that core application done, finished, ready to go, because then you can really make your essays perfect and work on them, and then get that application in plenty of time to meet those deadlines. So August is the time to start and get it all finished. Excuse me. Financial aid. Parents, we are going to have a presentation in June about financial aid and more information about that. But every school has something called a net price calculator. So if your child is looking for, and you're looking for cost, that's the best place to go. Every college has something called it. You can go into their search bar, or you can just go to Google and search net price calculator, University of Maryland, and it'll come right up. And again, financial aid is a whole different topic that I could spend 2 hours talking about, but there are things to get ready and to assemble for it. And one of the best places to go is free application. This FAFSA stands for Free Application Federal Student Aid. And again, if you Google that, it will take you to a great resource page through the government. So that's a great place for parents to start. Okay, I think we've answered quite a bit. I know I've kind of rushed here, but well, try to answer some of your questions. I think, again, as far as a sophomore becoming into a junior, to me, the most important thing right now is to make sure that their grades are excellent by the time they finish, because the grades that they receive will carry forward with them through their high school. So again, if they're failing a class or they have a D, it's really important to get that class taken care of and retake it. And I think as far as their classes and what they're going to take, I think that's probably the next key, if most important thing, that if they need to look at their class schedule, I think those are two things that I probably would focus on right this minute. Okay, I know you had some questions. Let me see if I can answer them for you. Yes, and the last slide says, make sure to take care and have some fun. And I always loved when we went on college visits. It was one of my favorite things to do. So enjoy it when you go, have some fun, go, find a really great place to eat and sit and talk to kids. I know your children probably won't want to talk to other students, but I did as a parent. My child would walk away, but you learn a lot when you go on a college visit. So it's always fun to go and enjoy and see the things that you might see as a parent that your child didn't see. Okay, what questions do we have, Anne?
Okay, let's see what we got. And I will second Linda's that my daughter is a junior, so I'm on this adventure with you all. And we have duly done much too many visits, according to her. But yeah, on the UF campus, University of Florida, it's so big. We were doing the self-guided tour. There was an app. It was a mess. It looked like the map went like through a building. So I found a lovely young lady, and she was willing to. She's like, "I'm going to the student union. I'll take you there," because I asked her, where it was, and I had a lovely conversation with her, all the way up the hill to the student union, while my junior lurked behind me and really wished I would just stop talking to her. But we got a lot of great info about how easy it was to get to class in the system and how much she liked it there. And yeah, and she was a lovely young lady and took us right where we had to go. So yeah, it's all about embarrassing the children to a certain degree. Hold on. I'm trying again, technology, not my thing. So I'm trying to pull up the questions we got ahead of time here. And then if you guys have any other questions, you're welcome to unmute. You're welcome to throw them in the chat. Okay, here we go. When to start getting ready for the tests? Well, we kind of covered that. So if you've got a sophomore right now who's going to be a junior, now's the time to at least figure out which test is going to be your pathway. So SATs and ACTs are 100% valuable at any school. If you pick one over the other, you're not shutting yourself out of any opportunities. There's no bias on the part of the colleges. And so you should really just pick the test you're going to have the better experience with. And as I mentioned a little bit here, and I'm going to circle back. We have the digital SAT coming online in 2024. So all of your students who are going to be juniors, not apply to your seniors, it'll be too late. We'll have the opportunity to try that digital test next spring. Montgomery County gives the free test. I imagine it's going to be the digital deliverable because there will be no more papers. And the juniors next year, when they take their PSAT in October, they are going to take that digital test. So they're going to get a sneak peek at it. Scores should come back kind of late November. We should get a little earlier than we had the standard paper-based test. And so that'll just be another data point. And if it looks like if your kid's an SAT kid or they were an ACT kid, we will get a data point from that. So you can probably just let the PSAT be your data point, for that as we kind of circle through. Linda already mentioned to a certain extent, try to get that test prep done for my juniors, try to get it done. I always like to say by the end of the calendar year for junior year. She's right, junior year is super busy. By the time we hit spring, we've got APs and proms and everything else, and the kids are running out of steam. So if you decide your kid's going to be a test taker, you definitely want them to be taking those tests for juniors before the end of 2023 here. What does the whole process look like? It's a little general question. If that was your question and you want to specify a little bit for me, I'm happy to address it, but mostly a test prep is going to be a 2-month affair up to test date, looking at getting stuff done. Okay, Linda, this one is for you, and it's with a test optional environment. Is there a way to determine when to submit a test score to a college?
So you don't want to submit a test score to the college until you know it's a good test score. So don't send anything in advance. First, they're not going to look at it. So they just won't even look at it until they open up a file for a child, and then they'll go look at it. So don't send anything now. And then how do you determine if you're going to be test optional? If you're not in that top 15% range in the testing world, then I probably wouldn't send it. But there's a lot of pros and cons about sending test scores and not sending them. So it would be something that I would like to answer personally, just because there's not a flat answer about if you should be a test optional student or not, or where to be a test optional student. Some schools, fine, be test optional, but some schools, probably not a good idea. And I'm going to be blunt with you. The University of Maryland, last year, I don't think any one of my test optional students got into Maryland. So just because it's the state of Maryland, and you just kind of have to know what the school wants. So they just are, they expect if you want to go to Maryland, you need to take the test and at least submit it. So again, that's not always the case. So don't quote me, but I would rather have that one-on-one conversation about if you're going to go test optional or not. And Ann's a great one to bounce that off to as well.
Yeah, I would say, and Linda's perfectly right. When she sits down in the workshops in August and the kids have their lists and they have their resumes and their transcripts, and we can really see the whole child, that really can indicate whether or not that test score is going to be helpful or harmful to that application. A general rule of thumb is it's a test optional school. If you are within striking distance of the 50th percentile for what that school is taking, because there's a wide range out there. You know, one school maybe is taking something that's 90th percentile, but maybe another school, their median score is 75th percentile. So you need to know what the data for that school is. And if you're in that striking distance, you should send it, because you will be up against kids who have not sent it. And for similar candidates, the one that has a test score that's within the range of that school versus the one that doesn't, that student unfortunately is going to have a leg up. There's still test bias out there. You know, maybe we've been test optional for a couple of years, but the admissions staff at these schools have relied on these tests for so long, and they are much reassured when they get that piece of the data go on. But Linda's 100% right. It is something that you really got to look at, because you may decide to apply to 12 schools, maybe 8 are test optional, and maybe you send scores to 4 of them, you know, and that'll really vary from student to student. So unfortunately, there's no easy answer. And while the test optional landscape takes some of the pressure off kids, especially kids who don't test well, it adds a whole new kind of pressure as to try to figure out whether this is a value to your application or whether it's a disadvantage. So yeah, so we were a little wishy-washy on that. Oh, and this kind of goes into it. How much role does a test score play for college admissions in 2024?
So again, same thing. You know, it's been difficult for colleges, for test prep companies, for all of us. However, you have to remember that optional doesn't mean none. If it's test blind, that means they're never, ever, ever going to look at it, no matter what. But when it's test optional, it still means they're going to look at it. So when they have, like Ann said, they have one application that sends scores and the other one that doesn't send scores, and they're very similar, they're going to take the child that sent the score. So you know, it's hard to answer, but test blind is test blind, optional. The other thing about this, so for example, if your child is looking into engineering and there is no test optional, I know what school tells you that there is none. They are looking for test scores for engineering. They're looking for test scores for business. They're looking for test scores for computer science. If not, and they don't do a test score, then they're going to look for an AP score. So they need to prove that they can go to that school and handle the academics that that school has, and especially for engineering and the top tier majors. So again, there are some majors that it doesn't, you know, they may look at and go, okay, well, you know, test scores are not as important, but there's certain majors that test scores are very important.
Yeah, and I would add that you have to check, it'll vary by school, but some schools for merit aid, a test score will be needed. So I'm going to take USF, University of South Florida. More personal information don't need, but it's on my daughter's list. But they are very clear cut about their merit aid awards. You take your GPA if you met a certain level, and you take your test score and you met a certain level, and they have 3 different levels. And depending upon where your GPA and your test score are, that is what aid you are going to get. And with a high enough GPA and a high enough test score, you will go from an out-of-state tuition to an in-state tuition. So it's not going to be the case at every school, but when we talk about cost is important. You have to think about, you know, because a lot of parents will go ahead and say, well, we'll apply, and if we get in, we'll see if we can, you know, manage it. But you really got to be you have to have forethought with regard to cost, because you don't want your child to get excited about a school only to realize later that the aid wasn't enough or the scholarship wasn't enough and that you're not able to make it happen. So it's always best to, unfortunately, it's hard, but to really think financially, what does the picture look like before, as you're narrowing that list? And that should really be a thing that you consider, so that you're not in a position to disappoint your child in the spring, because we've seen the price tag. Some schools are reasonable and some schools are incredibly, and you think, oh, it's okay. You look at the average financial aid packet, but that doesn't mean you'll get the average financial aid packet. And so that net cost calculator is really important because it'll allow you to go to the site, put in all your details and get a sense of what the price tag is going to be for you. And you can think about whether that's going to be a good fit for your student. So yeah, and then there are 3 states right now, Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia, require test scores. There is no test optional landscape. And I'm not sure, I have met with a student this year who has not had a school from one of those 3 states on their list, maybe all 3. Georgia's super popular right now. The Florida schools are super popular right now. UT is a wonderful school, but you're going to have a score to roll into those. So a little bit of research will help you determine how to get stuff done. We kind of talked about the timeline for applications. August 1st, Common App opens. And so you have a Common App and Coalition app, which will be apps that you can send to several different schools, but you also have to keep in mind that there's often supplemental pieces or additional essays. So while you do the Common App, particular schools that you have may have extra pieces you have to do. And some schools are not on the Common App. And so you have to be prepared to do a separate one. But the timeline is generally, we kind of covered that pretty well tonight, I think. You get your ducks in a row, start of the summer, you start collecting your data. And then when August rolls around, you're in a position to start checking all those boxes. Early deadlines are you have rolling admissions, which will start in September. So rolling is where schools take their students as they come. So as soon as the deadline opens, students start submitting applications and they start filling their class, and they will fill it all year long until it's full. So of course, with any rolling schools, you want to get in as early as possible. If there is an early, Linda makes the early decision is the one that's not binding, right? Or which one's not binding?
Early action.
This is why Linda does it. I always get the 2 messed up. Early action is your friend. Most schools are going to fill the majority of their class on early action. So those deadlines are going to be what, like October 15th through November 15th?
Yeah, most of the schools, Florida schools are always October 15th. There's a lot of them out there that are now October 15th. Majority of them are November 1st.
Okay, so if there is an early action application option, you're going to want to have your student in there because they will fill most of their spots. The deadline in January is going to be where they're kind of playing cleanup at that point. You don't really want to be at that point. And then for Maryland, November 1st is the priority deadline, right?
Must do it. Must
do it. There is no waiting.
Must do it. If you live in the state of Maryland, you don't get that application in by November 1, you're not getting in.
So for our parents out there who have rising seniors, it is May 9th, in November. So it's going to come fast. Those of us that are the parents know how fast that goes. For the students, it'll seem a little bit longer, but it'll still come real fast. So that's kind of your timeline there in regards to those. Now, early decision is binding, right? And we generally don't recommend that, for a few reasons, but you've got to be willing to go to the school, and you got to be willing to forgo any kind of financial assistance. Yes, generally.
Yes, very true.
Yeah. And that's a tough nut to swallow on the foregoing of financial assistance for an early. Right. And some schools, all their early deadlines are, like, I think Boston University is just ED. Like, I don't know that they have an EA for early. So as a parent of a junior, I find a cute little spreadsheet with the school and the admit date and the type, just to kind of keep all your ducks in a row so that you don't lose track of anything and you know what you should prioritize. And we have one question in our chat, if I'm using it correctly. It says, do recommendations have to come from teachers only?
Yes, and that is a question, yes. And here's why. Because a recommendation, they want to know how your child is as a student. And so, recommendation from a job, a recommendation from, the president of such and such, that's all great, but it doesn't talk to the school about as a student and how a member of a class. And that's what they want to hear. So sometimes, though, I will tell you that if it's an athlete and they're being recruited for athletic reasons, then yes, a coach is by all means. But if you're being recruited for an athlete, then that's a whole different process what's like from start to finish. I mean, it's a whole different thing that you should be working with someone with, because that the questions and what they want and what they don't want are very different than what a normal application would be. But no, they must be from a teacher. I have to be honest with you, some schools will say, yeah, we'll take 10 recommendations. Will they read 10 recommendations? No, they won't read them. No, they'll make you feel good that you can do it. And when I worked at Clemson, they said, yeah, we'll send them. But I have to tell you, we never read them because they all say the same thing. So not unless it's something very unique that your child has done or involved in or something like that, but it's rare. So teachers, yes.
And I would say school counselors, sometimes they'll specifically ask for a counselor. And I think to Linda's point, because they want to know about the student, right? So while that teacher can speak to that one student's performance in their English class, the school counselor, their counselor can speak to, kind of their overall performance. So every school, I hate to, unfortunately, you have to, once you get that list, you got to go to that school's website. You can go to freshman admissions. You can look at requirements. They will bullet point exactly for you. There will be a recommendations link. They will tell you how many they will take, who they can be from. And Linda's right. I've seen the language that you can send more. But yeah, I agree. These admissions officers are reading tens of thousands of applications in some cases. And the chance that they are going to read something extra is very, very slim. So I would stick to, and following directions is, just like everything in life. It's like the test you got when you were in second grade, and the teacher put it on your desk, and the first one was do 10 jumping jacks, and the next one was, tag your friend or write this or that. And then, but I think the very first one was like, read everything first. And then the very last direction is you don't have to do any of these things. Right. And so, so it's a lesson for college admissions. You want to follow the directions the school has given you. They do not want the things that they did not ask for. And they want to make sure that you have dotted your I's and crossed your T's according to what they're looking for. So.
Right.
All right. Any other questions out there? I think that was the only one that came up in our little Q&A box. I don't see anything in the chat if I'm using it correctly. As Linda mentioned, we've got that financial aid info coming down the pike next month, which is there's a lot going on that. And for my parents of seniors, it's my understanding that the government has kind of revamped
They have.
the FAFSA. Is it the FAFSA?
Yes.
And it's not going smoothly in regards to the schools and the interface. So unfortunately, I'm right there with you. I will be a parent of a senior in the fall. I think we're gonna have some frustrations as schools try to deal with the new interface and parents try to deal with it. And so I think you just have to have patience on the financial side. I think our class of 24s are in for a little bit more work when it comes to the financial piece this year.
Right. But I also
through no fault of our own.
Right. I've talked to a lot of because I still have colleagues in the office, like directors and that type of thing. And I've talked to them, and they're all anticipating it, but every one of them said they're going to work with their parents, and if they have to, like, not, I don't know, my real good friend at Tulane, he said, we'll probably reach out to them with our own form and have them submit things through their website in their own way, because that's, they're going to do whatever they can. And I'm sure, the schools are going to work with the parents. It's going to be a little frustrating, yes, but it is what it is. And I'm on webinars as I speak. I have one on Friday, so I'm trying to listen to as many webinars and get informed as much as I can as well. So.
Yeah, Linda's trying to keep up on all that stuff. I am knee deep in digital SAT stuff coming down, and I'm still a big ACT fan. So, I'm glad that is staying the way it is, and we can just have an old sturdy standby, and we'll see if this new SAT format is an advantage for students or not. We'll kind of just see how it happens. Okay. I didn't see any other questions come in. Linda, did anything cross your mind?
No, thank you for joining us. I enjoyed talking to you all, and I hope if I can help you, let me know. If Ann can, whatever. But yeah, the class is running, and I think there's a few spots left, but Yeah, if you want a lot of a less stress environment during the college season, then yes, send them to the class, because let me tell you, um, they don't listen to you, mom and dad. I put a child through college, and let me tell you, even as a college counselor, she came home and said, "I'm not talking to you." So
I get the same thing. Yeah, and my daughter will be spending some time with Linda in August, because I've just watched many years of kids roll in 5 days, just knock out the bulk of this work. And it really is just filling in forms and dotting I's and crossing T's and making sure everything's lined up. And we really enjoy taking that stress off of you, because it's fun for Linda. It's not stress for her.
right,
So
it is. I love it.
yeah, and the kids are always super pleased to roll out of there just feeling like, okay, I got this under control, a few more bits and pieces, and I'm ready to roll with everything. So and then and then we wait until we get to this part of the year, and we get to hear all the good news about where everybody got in and where everybody's deciding to go. So it's a good time of the year.
Yeah. Thank you. Enjoy your
Yep.
summer. If you need anything, our emails are on
Yep.
there. And I
Oh
hope
yeah, I think me and my, there we go. You can reach Linda directly, you can reach me directly. And then, I was wondering, I lost it. See, I knew it was gonna get me. Our college info night is going to be on the finances. Let me see if I can pull this up here. June 8th. Yeah,
yes.
we're doing June 8th at 7:30. So if you want to register for that, just let us know, and we will talk the nitty-gritty about all the financial details. So
Thank you. Good night.
all right, guys, thank you for all for coming, and we're here if you need us. Have a good night.